The first scene shows Jackson Maine taking a few pills before going on stage, after which he gives an ecstatic performance. Shortly afterwards, he returns to his car, drinking alcohol as Phil drives. Meanwhile, Allie breaks up with her boyfriend over the phone in a restroom. On her way out after work, her boss stops her, asking her to take out the trash. Allie gets pissed, however, she takes out the trash and leaves. Up next, Jack engages in small talk with Phil as they drive. Jack, however, refuses to go home and asks him to stop at a bar. Upon entering the drag bar, Ramon recognizes Jack and helps him in. He takes Jack to the counter and offers him a drink. Meanwhile, the bar girls, including Allie, are getting ready for a performance. Ramon urges Jack to anticipate the next performance. Just then, Allie's welcomed on the stage. Allie gives an amazing performance while the audience cheers her on. Jack watches Allie in awe and gets emotional after her performance. Ramon is surprised to see Jack shed a tear, after which he immediately takes Jack to see Allie. As he enters the dressing room, the girls get excited seeing him. Emerald gets an autograph from Jack. Allie's surprised as Jack comes to have a chat with her. Jack and Allie are given their privacy. The duo engages in small talk as Jack asks about how often she performs at the bar. He gets quite touchy with her as he takes off her fake eyebrow. Jack asks Allie out for a drink, and she leaves to get changed. While Jack waits for her, Emerald requests a little song from him. He plays the strings while Allie walks in, dazed at him. Shortly afterwards, Jack takes Allie to the cop bar for a drink. He asks her personal questions, asking if she writes her songs. She, however, explains how people criticize her nose even after recording a good song. Jack then asks to touch her nose, after which he calls her lucky. Allie doesn't buy his advances. Jack offers her a few words of advice, telling her that beauty wasn't mandatory but having what to say was the real deal. While Allie still tries to get the scenario, having a drink with Jack, a song plays, and she recognizes it. Just then, a random guy recognizes Jack and creates a scene in the process of getting a picture of him. Allie, however, gets irritated and throws a punch at him. Later on, Jack takes Allie to the mall to get an ice pack for her hand. She insists she was alright, but Jack doesn't buy it. She plays the piano. At the counter, the cashier secretly takes a picture of Jack. However, Allie disapproves of her. Outside the supermarket, Jack tends to Allie's hand. Allie tries to ask about him, but he avoids changing the topic so well. He, however, tells her about his sad childhood. Jack's dad had him when he was 62 and was practically raised by his brother. Upon hearing him, Allie composes a song for him, and it amazes him. She then goes ahead to sing another song she composed recently, after which Jack whispers to her that she might be a songwriter. The next day, Jack drops Allie off at her house. He invites her to his gig, but she declines, telling him she needed to go to work. As she leaves, he calls her back to have a glance at her face. Upon entering the house, Allie's dad, Lorenzo, takes her downstairs as he asks about Jack. She gives her dad and his friends a scolding when she sees the mess in the kitchen. After a while, Lorenzo brings Allie to his friends and begins to talk about her talent and career struggles. Allie, however, walks away upset, after which she beckons them to leave for work. Meanwhile, Jack gets a hearing test done on his ear. Jack has a hearing impairment. The doctor tells him it is difficult for him to get his hearing back, after which he tells him to consider the inner monitor he'd discussed with his brother, Bobby. Up next, Jack gets ready for his performance, as his brother, Bobby, arrives with the inner monitors. Jack, however, refuses to use them and asks Bobby to leave. Bobby, however, tells him it was the only way to manage what he still had left. Jack refuses to use it nonetheless, talking about Allie attending his gig. In the next scene, Jack's driver, Phil, goes over to Allie's to pick her up for Jack's gig. However, she begs to decline his invitation. He then tells her he would be waiting for her outside. Allie refuses to attend nonetheless and gets her dad on her neck. Allie, however, refuses to go, telling her dad about Jack's alcoholism. Shortly afterwards, Allie arrives at her workplace. She tells Ramon about her time with Jack, and how his driver keeps following her around. Just then, her boss accuses her of coming late. Upon hearing that, Allie gestures to Ramon as she quits her job, leaving with him to Jack's gig. Allie and Ramon are thrilled as they take a flight over to Jack's. The duo gets a warm welcome as they arrive at the venue. Gail takes them to the side stage as they watch Jack's performance in awe. After his performance, Jack calls Allie on stage to sing. Allie's shocked and nervous after he asks her to sing one of her songs. Jack then goes ahead to prep the stage, singing the song while she musters up the courage and joins him. The crowd flared in excitement on hearing Allie's beautiful voice. She then gets comfortable and performs confidently with Jack. After the show, Jack takes Allie to his room. They get romantic a bit before Allie leaves for the bathroom. Upon returning, she finds Jack lying on the couch. Unfortunately, she's unable to wake him up. She gets worried and goes to get help from Ramon. However, he begs to decline. As she returns, she finds Bobby putting Jack to bed. He tells Allie that Jack had never brought anyone on stage before and has also not performed the way he did in a long time. Allie, however, joins Jack in bed after a while. Later in the night, Jack wakes up and caresses Allie, after which they get under the sheets. Shortly afterward, they eat and chat, after which they get romantic. Meanwhile, Allie's dad and his friends are in awe as they watch Allie's performance with Jack on YouTube. In the next scene, Allie and her dad watch her video together. Jack comes over to get Allie for a ride to his hometown, Arizona. On reaching there, they get to a restaurant where Allie writes another song as they chat. Later on, Jack takes her to see his dad's grave. Upon reaching there, Jack sees the land used for a windmill. Up next, Jack gets into a fight with his brother regarding the windmill over their dad's grave. Bobby breaks the truth to him, telling him their father's body was washed away by a storm, but he never paid attention since he was always drunk. Bobby accuses him of stealing his voice, after which he quits working for him. In the next scene, Jack takes a shot and some drugs from his doctor, after which he leaves for the stage. Allie and Jack begin performing together. Jack urges her to perform the song she'd composed in Arizona, but she hesitates a bit, after which she goes on stage and gives a heartwarming performance. The audience flared in excitement. Rez stops Allie on their way out after the performance. He introduces himself and asks to sign her on his record. Allie's overwhelmed and asks to speak to Jack about it. Shortly afterward, Allie informs Jack about Rez, and Jack acts all jealous. Up next, Allie fidgets as she records a song at Rez's studio. Jack takes permission to join her to make her feel comfortable, after which she sings impressively. Rez makes Allie join a dance routine for her song. Meanwhile, Allie and Jack spend quality time together. Allie gets him a pet dog, Charlie. Jack asks Allie to join him for a performance, but Allie gives an excuse, telling him Rez requested her to complete her album. In the next scene, Jack sniffs as usual, and shortly afterward he leaves for the stage. However, his crisis begins. On the other hand, Allie's music career kicks off. She gives her first performance as an artist. Rez notices that the dancers didn't join Allie on stage. After her performance, he asks about it. Allie, however, tells him she'd wanted to do it alone, but Rez disapproves of it. He goes ahead to ask her to change her color, but Allie insists on not changing herself. She gets restive as she asks after Jack. Up next, George Stone finds Jack lying in a bush along the road and helps him up. He got intoxicated and thought he'd arrived at George's. The duo engage in a conversation. Shortly afterwards, Allie arrives and she scolds him. She tells him she wouldn't find him next time, asking him to fix his mess. He sweet-talks her as he asks about her show. After a while, Allie joins George's family for lunch. While in the dining, Jack proposes to her with a ring he made out of an iron strip in the kitchen. Allie's overwhelmed at Jack's gesture. Shortly afterward, Allie and Jack tie the knot at the church at George's suggestion. In the next scene, Jack and Ramon, alongside Rez, await Allie's new look. Ramon goes to check up on her since she wasn't coming out. Allie gets all shy, but Ramon praises her looks, telling her she looked like a celebrity. Meanwhile, Jack asks Rez if he'd asked Allie to change her hair color. He, however, denies it, saying it was all Allie's idea. The drag bar girls place a video call to Allie, telling her to return soon. After a while, she makes an entry into the room with Ramon. Rez tells her about a new deal she'd signed for. Jack borrows his wife for a little talk outside. He hugs her as they look at a billboard with her face on it. He urges her to go for what she wants while being herself. In the next scene, Allie gives a live performance alongside Rez and his dancers. Jack gets restive on seeing Rez all over Allie. He then leaves to grab a drink and Bobby joins him afterward. They talk about Allie, after which Jack requests him to come back to work with him. However, Bobby politely declines and offers to help whenever he needs him. Up next, Allie's photos are taken at a studio where Rez arrives and gives her some good news. She's been nominated for the Best Artists and Grammy Awards. Allie's overwhelmed at the news while everyone congratulates them. On reaching home, she finds Jack drunk and they get into an argument, leading to him saying mean things to Allie. The next day, Jack apologizes to Allie at her dance class. In the next scene, Allie gets ready for the Grammy alongside her dad and friends. Jack tells Allie he'll be leaving early since he has to perform before the award presentation. Jack's hearing begins to fail. Up next, Jack takes a few doses and drinks before leaving for the stage at the Grammy event. He acts clumsy while on stage as a result of his intoxication. Allie's awarded the Best New Artist. As she leaves to address the audience, Jack creates a scene as he wiggles onto the stage. He wets his pants in public and crashes Allie's event. Allie breaks down in tears as she leaves to care for Jack. Up next, Jack joins a rehabilitation program. Meanwhile, Allie's dad apologizes to his daughter for pushing her toward Jack. Jack talks with the rehab coach, Carl, about his childhood and his dad's alcoholism. Allie visits Jack at the rehab. She tells him Charlie misses him and awaits his return. Allie brings out a song he'd written for her and asks about it. The duo gets emotional as Jack apologizes for embarrassing her and her dad. Up next, Allie suggests taking Jack along on her tour, but Rez immediately disapproves of it. Bobby drives Jack home from rehab. after which he gets emotional when Jack talks about the incident of stealing his voice. Jack returns home to Allie and Charlie. Jack teaches her the song he'd written for her. In the next scene, Rez arrives at Jack's while Allie is away. He makes Jack face the bitter truth of how his marriage to Allie was ruining her career. Later on, as Allie returns, she joins her husband in the bedroom. She requests Jack to perform on stage with her. Jack agrees to attend. His reaction says quite the opposite. When she leaves, Jack asks for a glance at her face. Up next, Jack gets ready for his performance as he leaves for his car at the garage after feeding Charlie. Meanwhile, Allie awaits Jack's arrival on stage, but he never shows up. Unfortunately, Jack had committed suicide. Allie breaks down on Jack's demise. Bobby offers her a few words for comfort, asking her not to blame herself. It seems Allie didn't know of his hearing impairment. Allie performs in honor of her late husband as she sings the song he'd written her. She gets emotional as she reminisces on her moments with Jack, and the movie ends.